Indeed, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I really do appreciate your presence. How are you doing, friend? Instantly getting distracted, as we do. Before we do actually get distracted and get into the stream, let's start off by saying something worth saying, shall we? Whew. Man, there's been some fire ones as of late. Create a self that is a perfectly unlimited being. Create a self that is a perfectly unlimited being. Bring awareness to the definition you have given yourself. Do you want to be an unlimited being, East Coast Rabbit? I know that I sure do want to be an unlimited being. How are you doing, my friend? It's so nice to have you here. I don't know if you know. Maybe you do. But I think Chow actually recommended that Tate's live stream, the one he did in the U show with you two together, is actually recommended for an award. And I think we should be able to find out about these awards sometime soon. Technically, yesterday was when the voting period ended, I guess. Abundance. Absolute abundance. Are you answering the question that I asked in the title, Yater? I have to know, my friend. Oh, we have Lane here as well. Hello there, Lane. Thank you for joining us. We have Angela. Hi, Meltmore and everyone. Thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing? What? I mean, it's like the worst way to explain it. So basically, yeah, the Woodstock interview. There is, for the 2-year anniversary of ARPAN, there's a little bit of a, what do you say, competition-ish thing. So you basically suggest a stream under a topic, under each one of the subreddits, and then each one of those subreddits wins, a trophy. And one of that stream that you two did together was actually the one that someone recommended, and it might be actually up there. So sorry, Mel, in school today, gonna have to miss the stream. That's completely okay. Soviet Canada. Thank you for joining us, my friend. It was nice to have you here, if even for a second. I mean, maybe. Oh man, it's actually now so interesting that you talk about Woodstock, because I actually came here today with a little bit of an intention. A preconceived want. Almost to the point where I have already planned out the YouTube, title, if you will. I kind of want to talk about psychedelic mushrooms today. We've been shying away from talking about this as a subject because it is something that's difficult to talk about. And the fear of prosecution when it comes to getting blacklisted or all of these things have kind of subsided inside of myself, because I believe more in discussion than I believe in the fear of prosecution, if that makes any sense. And I've been just like today, how much did I spend? Like 4 hours probably just listening to people who are knowledgeable on psychedelics and where our world is going right now, how our world is developing around this, how things are changing in our day-to-day lives as a result of these changes coming along as well, how marijuana becoming legal in the way that it did in a lot of the places that it's becoming legal now is almost opening people's minds as well to the possibility of legalization. Companies basically starting to try and commoditize, psilocybin as well. What do you friends think about it? There was another streamer friend, I'm not exactly sure what his name is, but I think he called the show something like timid discussions, uncomfortable discussions, unruly discussions, something like that. And he was talking about mental health. And when I talk about mental health and when I think about mental health, I can't help but kind of reference back to all of the things I've been through with my mental health and the things that have actually helped me, and coming from SSRIs, that was like the first try to fix it solution that the doctors gave me, and it made things worse. And then I transitioned away from SSRIs completely. SSRIs are like antidepressants, like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And like I started smoking marijuana, and that helped me sleep properly. And then because I was willing to smoke marijuana, it also kind of opened my mind to the possibility that, these plants and these chemicals that these plants contain were given to us with this intention to make us better, heal us in some way, kind of create an environment within us out of ourselves in which we can objectively look at the things that bother us and try and solve them. And just that as a knowing kind of pushed me to do some more research about, psychedelics. And it kind of pushed me to this conclusion, at least, that mushrooms would be the next thing that I would want to try and see if it, affects me in a positive or negative way. And I feel that is kind of, at that point at least, is when I finally hit the nail in the coffin of the depression that I was experiencing for so long in my life. Because, and I'm not going to say this is going to be the reaction every single person has to it, but at least for me, the overwhelming message that I was kind of confronted with is, I'm so happy to be alive. And coming from a bout of depression that lasted years, constantly thinking about taking my own life, thinking about how I don't belong in this world, how there is this disconnect between me and my family, me and my friends, me and my environment. And in that moment, be it psychedelically induced or not, I knew with certainty that I'm happy to be alive. And it's making me emotional just thinking about it again. Because it's so weird that a chemical, this little fungus that grows out of the ground, can bring me back to that realization. Just be grateful to be alive. Man. And it changed so many things for me. It changed the way that I perceived myself. It changed the way that I chose to perceive the ones around me. Because when I started choosing and understanding on a base level that I'm doing things because I'm happy to be alive, and these beings that are alive with me and around me benefit from me being alive, like that is also something that really fascinates me. Enthusiasm, excitement, joy. Hello. Okay. Can be something that like literally empowers the life of others as well. And how it can be so important for us to be happy when there is a lack of happiness in the world in that way. Whew. Yeah, it changed a lot of things for me. And like something that I said on that friend's stream that I feel is something a little bit more controversial. And I'm saying this completely, from a place of naivete, if you will, because I don't know. And every single person is different. But, and like take this with all of the grains of salt, I don't know what I'm talking about. I would rather have someone microdose, like 0.1 gram, like a tenth of a gram, psilocybin, than for them to take SSRIs. I would, if I was my own parent, to like 14-year-old Melt, I would give 14-year-old Melt microdoses instead of putting myself on SSRIs. And that's only a decision I can make for myself, obviously. And the reason, or the narrative at least, that I have around that, and the reason I feel so strongly about it, is because SSRIs, in the name, it is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So the last two, words in those are actually the more important ones. Reuptake inhibitor. Reuptake inhibitor means that basically it forces the natural chemicals that you have in your brain to be utilized more effectively, but that is like, utilizing your coffee more effectively by using more spoons of it. Like sure, you're going to be drinking stronger coffee, but you're also going to be depleting the coffee that you do have and then tomorrow you might not have as much coffee left. You know what I'm trying to say? Where mushrooms, or psilocybin, it resembles the serotonin molecule very closely. So instead of taking away from yourself by reuptaking, your own naturally produced chemicals, you're basically introducing this exogenous chemical that is psilocybin that gets psilocybin in your stomach, and then you're technically giving your brain something. The biggest thing is that people rely on SSRIs almost to survive at this point. It's like a life crutch, something that they absolutely need, otherwise they can't function. And mushrooms is not something that has been properly tested just yet. SSRI is also not really. It's like the most shotgun way of trying to fix a problem as well. And they can't fix the problem if you're not willing to go through a lot of therapy on top of the fact that you're on the SSRI. Man, I'm sorry, I'm already deep into it. Peachy little. Thank you for joining us, my friend. What about you? You should be up for the positiveness. I'm surely up for the positive. Oh, no, not like that. It's not an award. But I am in the social distancing category, if you will. Unruined nature is divine. There we go. Yeah. Very much so. But now I want to riddle you this. At what point do you think something stops being nature? Huh? When we make it? Isn't it still nature then, technically? Even though it might be hard to swallow, this plastic bottle is as much a function of nature as oxygen is a function of, trees. We just happen to make these things sometimes because it's something that's very effective. And interestingly enough, nature has ways to deal with those things as well. Like, it's literally now, nature has already developed fungi or microorganisms that dissolve plastic and use it as a fuel source. It never stops being nature, technically. But I do know what you mean. I understand. I'm just, riddling you a little bit, playing devil's advocate. What's my intention for today? I feel very erratic. I feel like I want to run away to somewhere or something. Like, not actually run away, just that angsty feeling. I actually do know. My intention is to be rooted. Rooted in this moment, rooted in this feeling, rooted in the understanding that love is true. I'll be here for a little bit, but I have to get going on my sociology class so I can stay ahead. I am currently a week ahead in most of my favorite online in most of my online classes. Freaking Lane is an absolute machine. Are you trying to finish earlier? Is being ahead an advantage in the way that you have to maybe study the work and then write tests, and then you can finish them? Like, you don't have to actually follow the path. What is the motive? Or is it so that you have a little bit more time to work on your music, Lane? Psychedelic mushrooms have a lot of different ways to be used by Native American people. Okay, wait. To be used. My Native American people have been using it medicinally for years now. They're starting to use it for depression and schizophrenia. It's not just for hippies on acid anymore, lol. Yes, I know, East Coast Rabbit. That's actually why I want to talk about it especially. Because now, finally, we have, last year... Is it last year? Might have been actually 3 years ago at this point, technically. We found out that dimethyltryptamine is being produced at equivalent levels in our brains as serotonin and dopamine. One of the most powerful psychedelics on our planet is being produced in your brain at equivalent levels as your serotonin and dopamine. If that doesn't make you question, everything, then it doesn't have to. But it makes me question a lot of things. And mushrooms, with that study as well, or, a related study at least, kind of realized that it helps you grow dendritic spines. So the little connection points to your individual neurons grows. You have more connection points in between individual neurons. After a week, you have like 50% of them left. After 35 days, you have like 40% of them left. So psychedelic mushrooms have the ability to grow dendritic spines in your brain. It literally increases the neuronal density, well, connection density rather, of your brain. And we're realizing this now with actual proper studies, when before we didn't really have that much data on it. And yeah, things are coming to light. We can't claim they have no medical benefits anymore, and it makes me happy. Jovan, thank you for being here with us, my friend. How are you doing? We have Lisa here as well. It's awesome, Lane. Way to be proactive and get ahead. Good for you, man. There we go. I have all of the encouragement. I was petting the dog this morning, and subconsciously just started saying, oh, much. It's global now. It's a thing. It's literally become a thing because of you friends. Like, I didn't think about it or like have any conceptualization of why it is I'm doing it, but now every single time that I do it, I think about it as well. Thank you, Charles, for joining us today, my friend. To be rooted, so the color red, like I want to say, and to be crowned, but it might be interpreted wrongly. The crown can be seen as your connection to the whole. So connection to the whole. This guy once walked from Botswana to Durban just to get eggs. Did I? I must be a fucking badass, because that's a walk and a half, dude. I'm happy that you think I did that, because now I don't have to do it. Oh, I'm a simple matrix. I love you, my friend. How are you doing? Your dad says, I find them extremely interesting and easy to talk about. Psychedelics, that is? I'm happy to hear that, friend, and chat to me about it. What has your experience been? What insights have you gathered? But that is your name. Your dad. Oh goodness, but that username, it do be like that. Edman, thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing, dude? How are you feeling? I answered Mel, but you will have to scroll back, lol. You answered? Did I miss your message? Psychedelic mushrooms have a lot. No, I don't think I did. I just think it took me a while. I'm sorry, East Coast Rabbit. I'm here now. Onyx, it's nice to have you again, friend. It's been a while. How have you been? Hank Star, nice to have you again as well. Hope all is well. I'm doing better. Yes! Score! I'm happy to hear that, my friend. I'm so happy to hear that. I believe Hank Star has recently made an exodus of a relationship, and it can be hard sometimes. So if you have any extra love to send, or a positive thought to think about Hank Star, please do that for us. Lisa Yater, hi Edmund. I was watching the Me You Can't See on Apple TV, and they had a gentleman with depression that was part of a psilocybin trial. Very interesting to watch and see how it was able to unlock his mind, to help him identify and work towards resolution. Man, that's amazing, actually. It makes me so happy that stuff is in the media now, dude. Like, we can actually see this stuff. There's so much information coming out right now as well about these things that if you're ignorant at this point about these things, it's because you're choosing to be. And I know that may be a little bit harsh to say, but I feel it is very much true, especially in the age we find ourselves in. Like, we live in the information age. We have more access to information than literally 99.9% of the previous humans on this planet had collectively, basically. Just think about that. Stop thinking about it, it's too much. What? We, us small little human beings, have in our hands with these little, flat devices, more information than 99.99% of previous humans had collectively. That's too much. That's way too much, yo. What? And yet, that make it. Well, actually, I was gonna say, and yet people still don't learn, but actually it makes sense that they won't learn, or they'd be intimidated by the sheer volume of information. But when it's critical information that can really help you, man, I'm like thinking about all of the reasons. I wonder if the government still plays as big of a role. Because growing up, the worst drug, at least, portrayed to us, was weed. Weed was the worst. Like, weed was almost the only drug that we really got told about at a school level. And then by the time I was like 16, well, by the time I was 17, technically, when I moved to the city, I got offered coke and stuff at high school. I was like, excuse me, what? I did go to like, how do you say, a private high school, where rich kids go. So it might makes kind of sense. Like there was this, I'll never forget this as well. The 17-year-old, what was her name? Can't remember. But the 17-year-old girl who she turned 17 on the day, and her mom dropped her at school in her new Mercedes Benz, like one of those SUV Mercedes Benzes. And I was like, that's a sick car. She's like, yeah, it's mine. I got it for my birthday today. And I'm like, excuse me, what? She's like, yeah, it's mine. But I'm like, but you're 17. And in South Africa, we can only drive when we're 18. She's like, yeah, but I can't use it to like train or like get good at driving so I can get my license, when I turn 18. And I was just so like caught off guard, growing up in the house that I did, with the financial barriers that we had, if you will, and then seeing like this 17-year-old just get like a $90,000 car. I'm like, probably more, but I'm like, what? And then at the same place, having people offer you coke. It was just such a surreal, almost culture shock to me, seeing how different environments kind of like welcome these different mental levels as well. Because the thing with like cocaine, for example, is it's a very much DMT stimulant. Oh, DMT stimulant, dopamine stimulant. So basically, you snort this thing, and it's also a reuptake inhibitor. It causes your brain to use your own naturally produced dopamine. You feel really good about yourself. You think you're on top of the world, and then the reuptake inhibitor loses its effect. Your little dopamine molecules can be released from your brain, and now because you basically forcefully force them into those receptors, you destroy them, and now you have this lack of dopamine in your brain, causing you to feel, net loss from this experience, urging you to kind of go back for another round of it. And how it was so closely related to these kids that grew up so wealthy and so overexposed to dopamine, at least the way that I think about it, how every time they wanted something, they got it. And, getting something can release dopamine in your brain as well. And I was wondering to myself, how much of them, at least, the school and these teenagers wanting to snort coke, is as a result of getting everything they wanted as kids. And how, like, that kind of continues as a pattern as well. How much do you have to suffer as a kid, when it comes to financials, when it comes to love, when it comes to acceptance, in order to try and form some sort of legs for yourself in the normal world? Like, I'm getting into way too many tangents again today, but I'm just curious. I'm so curious. Damn, dude, this is giving me chills. You're very much worthy of being here and changing people's mindset and lives. Keep this shit up, man. We love it. Thank you. Wow, that's a beautiful message, friend. I love you too. I will if you do. Alright, I'll be back in a little bit. Time to learn about the American valve system. The American valve system. I have absolutely no idea what that means. I am curious though. Goodbye, Lane. I started microdosing about 3 weeks ago, but I wasn't sure how much to take and when. So, like, I'll give you known information. I'm not giving you instruction. Just to be clear, Angela, okay? So 0.1 gram, like a tenth of 1 gram of the psilocybin mushroom, maybe crushed up like once every 3 days, is a good measurement of schedule. But that is what I've heard, not what I'm suggesting. So take that as you will, my friend. Sounds like fun. That's good, Lane. Oh my goodness, you blocked me for saying SSRIs are good for mental health treatment and not only mushrooms. I didn't throw away. Here we are, friend. I can see your message. It's been 10 minutes since you sent it, so I'm sorry that I'm taking so long to see it, but I didn't block you. I mean, I don't have anything against SSRIs. I just think they're a solution to a problem that is a little bit blunt. You know, instead of actually solving the cause of the problem, it patches the symptoms of the problem, first and foremost. And then in doing so, it creates more problems in turn as well. Because the longer you take an SSRI, the harder it is to get off of it. When it's very much not that way with mushrooms. Like you can't, eat mushrooms every day and be like, I need to, keep eating mushrooms, because eventually it will either stop working or it will just start fucking you up. It will like create mental spaces for you in which you don't gain anything. There won't be any value to be had anymore. Yeah, where SSRIs are the opposite. Like you lose value if you stop taking them. No trolls joined the stream today. Man, I have to chill. Like freaking Edmund is lightly boiling. It's like, oh, you better not. You freaking better not. I'm gonna smoke this. Let's root ourselves in this moment. Trolls only have power if you give it to them. I give the trolls power as well, though. Unfortunately, East Coast Rabbit. That's the thing, I'm kind of facilitating it sometimes. Whoa there, Lane. Give me some of your energy, man. Been skipping half of my lectures, both online and offline. I hope you've been catching up on sleep while you're skipping lectures, Vincent. Feels like a running joke at this point. Toasty Malosty. Thank you for joining us and for giving me the wholesome award, my friend. So many hearts being said. Sending you some patient vibes, friend. Thank you. Thank you, Yater. Sending me some as well. I feel it, dude. I know East Coast. I usually don't let them bother me, but damn, this dude pisses me off. O&R base this morning. Oh, did you ban him? Pissed me off. Or maybe it's just some other dude. Vincent, how's school going? Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm having a bit of a hard time, but I'm trying my best. That's literally the only thing we can do, Vincent. If we keep trying our best will get done. Sending you love and light. Hank Star saying, oh, look at that. Yes, so happy. Sorry, spell check. Vincent, you, like Lisa said, one day at a time. Come here for strength. We have your back, my friend. Man, like I feel like I'm melting again. Like it's too much for me. I don't know how to say thank you enough. You're right, Lisa. I took a day off today since I didn't have important lectures, and I got some decent 5 hours of sleep. Not consistent though, but I feel a bit refreshed. Vincent, I'm happy. Like fortunately, I'm holding in regard that you are young. You still have a lot of chemistry left, if you will. So the lack of sleep isn't going to be that detrimental, as long as you don't, get into that pattern and then identify with that pattern. Like, yes, I sleep less than I'm supposed to. Like, as soon as you do that, that's when you're going down the wrong path. If you sleep less than you're supposed to because it's part of the circumstance, it's okay, as long as it only lasts during the circumstance. I've been thinking about left brain and right brain stuff, but you heard the treatment for epilepsy that they used to do in the 50s, where they separated them? They started basically doing their functions independently and disagreeing with each other. Ooh. Like, they separated people's left and right. Like, I'm getting goosebumps. Why would you do that? No. Oh, like I'm getting goosebumps just imagining that. Like my brain is like, no. We need to mesh. We need to jam. Hemisync is a thing. Literal hemisphere, sync. When you can be in a state of hemisync, it means your left and your right brain are communicating effectively. An epilepsy treatment then separates the left and right brain. Oh goodness. And the fact that they start disagreeing with each other, I think they disagree with each other kind of naturally. because the left brain is very masculine, task oriented, dominant, linear, where the right brain is more feminine, creative, passionate, enthusiastic about things. So when your left brain, this rigid, systematic based system, gels well with this, flowing, creative part of your brain, that's when you can really be a full and complete human being. Separating those two completely from each other, physically, I'm guessing they literally did surgery and cut neuronal pathways or something. That's terrifying. And you know what's interesting about that as well, Jovan? And this is going to be a mini spoiler since you told me that you wanted to watch BoJack Horseman as well. Like, man, in BoJack Horseman, like BoJack's mom's mom, so his grandma, basically goes through this like extreme emotional turmoil after she loses her son in the war. And instead of dealing with her emotions, the husband, that is, like properly dealing with her emotions, kind of spending time with her, he would kind of leave and not spend time with her during her times of extreme turmoil. And she continued being in turmoil to the point where he took her to a hospital and they basically, I think, lobotomized her. So like she has like the scar on her forehead, and he basically said in the scene as well that they separated her prefrontal cortex from the rest of her brain. So she became like this zombie-esque being. And I was just thinking to myself, like, holy shit. People used to do stuff like that back in the day. Instead of dealing properly, I'll be back in a second. I just want to close that door to give you friends mildly better audio quality. Because there's noise. Even if... Hello! You feel that? There we go. Yeah. Instead of dealing with your problems, or at least back in the day, like properly discussing these things, it being okay to be upset, they would do stuff like that. I'm thinking about those pins that they would. I'm not gonna go deeper into this. You know what I'm talking about, and it's horrifying. I'm glad you get a long weekend and found some resting time. I'm also happy, actually. You deserve it, Vincent. Thank you, Yader. I don't really hang out with people much, but I keep finding myself coming back here. I mean, you're probably getting your fix. It must be it, right? Getting so much of a fix here that you don't need to hang out. Oh, fascinating, Jovan. Tell me more. I'm curious as well. Post a video. Thank you, Jovan. I'm curious about that now. Glad to see you smiling today. George, thank you for joining us. How have you been? I think I said hi to you in someone else's stream, but we didn't have a chat there. I have an allergy to cocaine. I got into shock. Well, I don't want to say good, because obviously it's not good that you went into shock. But maybe good that you will never have the temptation to? There are better ways. Reuptake inhibitors mess with you way too much, and like if you smoke meth, that basically gives you dopamine. So instead of it being a reuptake inhibitor, it's just like, okay, have the dopamine, and that's even worse. But we do give it to our kids as Ritalin and Adderall, so it does have some therapeutic use when it comes to studying. But again, if you do it for too long, you become dependent. It basically becomes your new natural state. Human beings are very equipped at adapting. Sweet, I'll look forward to it. You and Toasty are so clever with the Discord plugs. They really are, sharing so much good information. My online professor said we're moving from an age of enlightenment to an age of entitlement. That stood out to me. Very much so. Goodness. Yeah. Like, I want to go into that, but I feel there's too much spicy subject matter attached to that subject. So, in the interest of not getting cancelled, I'm gonna just like tiptoe over that one. Thank you though, Lane. I agree completely, man. That is a good one. I thought I'd argue both are happening simultaneously. I do think there is definitely a re-emergence of the Age of Enlightenment coming. We are definitely at a tipping point, a paradigm shifting point, if you will, when it comes to a lot of things. The technology that is now coming into our lives, both biological technology, artificial technology, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be some crazy stuff that we're going to be witnessing in our lives. That I can guarantee you. I would ask the professor, do you really believe that we were in the age of enlightenment? Yeah, actually, that's a good point as well, Yader. I feel we've gone through fluctuations, and there has been, like, human history is basically rife with suffering. It's a bloodbath all the way, and then there are these small, slightly hope-inducing smidgets of progress being made on top of all of that suffering. I feel now for the first time we're coming to the point where we're trying to reduce human suffering as much as we can, but that attempt to reduce human suffering has also kind of enacted this capitalistic society that we find ourselves in now. And it is not sustainable to go hard only in one direction. Like with everything in life, we need to find some sort of balance. Candace, it's nice to have you here, my friend. How are you doing, friend? How far have you progressed, if you have progressed at all with your octopus? I'm missing what you're going through, but I've missed what you're going through, but I'm sending love and good vibes, my dude. He's been studying and not sleeping enough, and has been traveling a lot, and has been, you know, kind of forced to attend classes to have attendance and stuff. So just been studying. By the way, Melt, says Vincent, a thought came to me today. Actually, for a while, since all the things happened around me, does satisfaction have actual straight relation to happiness? Satisfaction and happiness. So I'm feeling some things from both, because in the word satisfied, I'm getting the sense that you're no longer in a place of lack. You know, that's the thing I think about it, and I feel that is more an understanding slash feeling that you can incorporate into the rest of your life as much as you can, just saying be happy, for example, because it kind of hints back at this understanding that we are not at a loss. We don't lack anything. We've been given an infinite amount right now, right here in this moment. And happiness can spring from the satisfaction of realizing you don't have any lack. So, your exact question was, is there a correlation or a straight relation? Yeah, correlation, straight relation to satisfaction and happiness. So, I don't believe that happiness always is indicative of satisfaction, or that satisfaction is always indicative of happiness. But I do think there is a very real understanding around the word satisfaction as to how to be happy. If you can be content, if you can be filled, right? Be it with a meal, be it with an event, be it with a conversation, be it with your life, then you can have happiness almost flowing from that space. But the satisfaction in its own isn't going to do that for you. I think it's going to have to be like a co-creation with the satisfaction to induce the happiness, if you will. Thank you for that question, Vincent. Oh yeah, I can definitely see why you say they're both happening. The lesson was just about how American values narcissism to an extent, and that it makes an as value entitlement. We are definitely starting to move away from entitlement feel though. Yeah, I think so as well. I think it was almost like accelerated in a lot of ways by our internet age, by our, like this generation of everybody wins a prize as well. I understand. Like, I have a bunch of things to say about that. Like, I didn't grow up in an environment where everybody gets a medal, if you will. There was no participation medals. for me growing up. I used to swim competitively, if you will, if you can say it was competitive. Won like 46 medals as a kid. And when I didn't win, it was devastating. And when I did win, it was definitely a surreal sense of joy and pride that I had for the work that I have done. And I feel, if anything, that is that is the real shame in giving everyone a medal. Not so much that I kind of understand the concept of honoring each individual as a divine individual and honoring them in the way that they still feel included and appreciated, and they gain something of value from doing this thing, regardless of whether they win or not. And that I respect completely and I understand that. But I also feel that you're stealing the possibility of those contrasting emotions, very powerful contrasting emotions, from them in doing that. Because then they will never be able to sense, that loss. And I feel learning how to deal with loss and how to deal with like self disappointment from a young age is something that we're not taught. Like, how do you teach that? It's almost something that we're averse to in a lot of ways. Like, if you grew up in a house where you got like physically punished, making a mistake, has painful consequences. And then that like pain, literal bodily pain, becomes so ingrained within inside of you that you fear mistakes with this intensity, this dread, because it becomes so embedded in you that mistake equals painful experience, be it emotional or physical, when it should be an understanding that this is a learning opportunity. Like, if we can get to a point where we can really get that down, I think we'll make a lot of progress already. Thank you for the wholesome, Angela. I appreciate that. Best book, Vincent, Heat, Energy Ascent. There we go. I have to go again, though. Peace and love to you, Lane. Thank you, as always, for your presence, my friend. Sounds like an interesting lecture, Lane. Peace and love. Right back to you. Thank you, man. A riveting subject. I think I've been on the stream before, but not entirely sure. Emergency inside. Yes, that's all I can say. Very much yes. You've been on this side of the stream before. Last lobotomy was 1967. Wild. What the fuck, dude? That's like 3 years before my dad. 4 years. Yeah, 3 years before my dad was born. Just like, yep, this person is broken. Let's turn their brain off. Excuse me? What? You're doing what? I still always thinking about us and the audio quality. Thank you, friend. Of course, Yader. Of course, my friend. Like, this is something that we have to find joy in. And being especially attuned, I think that's the right way to say it, to like hearing things and knowing that I have an aversion to something if the audio or the listening experience isn't as I want it to be. I'll excuse myself. So I'm like consciously thinking about you, of course. I think yes. I can say hi, Jem. Or can you say hi, Jem, for my friend? She's sitting next to me. Hi, Jem. Thank you for joining me as well, friend. I'm happy that you're here. I hope you're having a good day. The scene really made me think too. I just couldn't believe at that point they still believed in lobotomies, dude. They believed in lobotomies, and it was also around that time that they completely, criminalized and stigmatized psychedelics as well. So it's this sheer level of confusion. The lobotomies happened a long time before that as well. Man, human beings. How many mistakes are we gonna make still? Like, that's the thing that really concerns me. Oh goodness, we've made so many mistakes. We're probably gonna make a lot more. But we should, try and mitigate that as much as we can. The mistake we're actively making right now, and I'm not saying we as us, I'm saying we as humanity, is that we're killing our planet right now. And I think some of you friends that have seen this as well, Like there was this Reddit post where carbon footprint is basically a term iconicized by the actual oil industry to make individuals feel guilty on a personal level for the climate catastrophe when it's so obviously their fault. Imagine, just imagine, you explain to an alien race. So our planet, has these symptoms. It's been heating up, it's been dying because of the burning of these fossil fuels. And they're like, oh, okay. So, but you've been distributing these fossil fuels, freely because it's a natural resource, right? No, 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 no. Um, it's very select few people profited billions upon trillions of dollars from this industry. And he's like, oh, okay, so that must mean that these people that profited from this, resource are the ones that have to, subsidize the fixing of the problem that resource caused, right? Oh, no, no, they don't do that. Oh, why? That's a good question, alien. It's a very good question. I ask myself why as well. We can't as individuals, as we're sitting here right now, make a difference that is going to help the climate catastrophe as it is right now, because we don't have the resources to make the changes that needs to be made. But the people that profited from the world being in the state, maybe not directly but definitely indirectly, like they didn't, you know what I'm saying, not directly profit from the world in a state it is, but indirectly by selling all of these fuels, caused the world to be in the state that it is, and they've made so much money doing this. And now that our planet is basically dying, and they're dying with it, and I think that's actually the reason for a lot of it, is the fact that they're also dying, so they don't care. They're like, oh wait, I have like at most like 20 years to live. Earth will be fine for the next 20 years. What do I care? I'm gonna keep sitting on my hundreds of extra billions of dollars. Yes. I feel very secure now with all of these extra hundreds of billions. But you only need like maybe at most, 100 million to live a full, very wealthy, very satisfied life. Nah, I want like 10,000 times that as well. Okay. And we just allow it. We're like, okay, you can give 10,000 other human beings the most prosperous life they could have ever wished for, but now let's let this one being keep all of it. The freaking dragon analogy. You know what the best part is? I don't even want it. I want the planet to have it. I want them to take that money and turn it into carbon capture systems, turn it into solar panels, turn it into hydro, turn it into, renewable sources of energy. That's all I want. I don't want the freaking cent of it. I just want this planet saved so that my kids and the kids of my kids get to play outside. Is that too much to ask for? You know what's the part that pisses me off the most? Like I've almost gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, since it isn't going to be done externally, I have to, in some sort of way, amount some sort of sheer amount of wealth so that I can try and make differences that require sheer amounts of wealth. And it's so frustrating because it's this I have this understanding and this feeling of this accumulation of wealth isn't something that serves you as a spiritual being. And then I feel this mounting pressure of, as a physical being living on this physical plane, wanting to bring more physical beings into this world at some point. I have this responsibility towards them now already, when we should be having these responsibilities as a collective towards our future generations. It's fucked. I'm sorry, I'm getting way too deep into it. I'm getting behind on messages. Meanwhile, I'm just drinking wine. You drink your wine, friend. You have a fun time drinking your wine. Don't feel guilty about the drinking of the wine. But also have, moderation. If you're only drinking wine, then eventually it's going to get boring. So, you know what I'm saying. Cocaine is so addictive to me. I can't do it at all. My brain becomes obsessed I used to have a problem. I'm so happy that you don't have a problem anymore, Nate. It really is that way because it is this like, okay, so an analogy for it to make you understand, if you will. Let's talk about dopamine or the release of dopamine in a numerical way. So you can kind of contribute like the best thing that you could possibly, maybe as like a like each and every single one of us has something that's going to stimulate our dopamine sensors, extremely. Like the completion of like a lifelong task, like you've been working 10 years on something and you complete it. Like that will give you, for example, 100 dopamine. Having intercourse with someone could give you 80 dopamine. Having, a great day at a roller coaster park can give you 50 dopamine. Eating a delicious meal can give you 25 dopamine, and like going down until you have like 1 dopamine for taking a sip of water, for example. Ching. Anyway, then you take cocaine, and now instead of having to work for 10 years to get 100 dopamine, you do, and now you get 300 dopamine. How does your brain cope with that? How does your brain accept that, oh, I can either work 10 years, to get X amount of dopamine, or I can work 5 hours, earn X amount of money, and get 3X amount of dopamine? And that's why it's so addictive. It's because it's easier. It's easier, and it leaves you in a state where you feel a loss because you're no longer in that state of heightened dopamine. And I think that's the problem in the first place, because it's a value system within inside of our beings, where serotonin isn't so much a value system as much as it's a exchange system between people. Like serotonin is also something we release when we communicate with one another. If you see someone smiling, it can release serotonin in your brain as well. So it's not necessarily something you get addicted to as much as it's something that is a part of your environment. Like, and you friends will know, if you've spent the entire day with friends constantly communicating, you're kind of like exhausted in some ways at the end of that day. You're like, oh, finally I get to be alone for a bit, close my eyes, gather my thoughts. And that's because serotonin in that way is not addictive. It becomes overwhelming. It becomes too much. Dopamine, on the other hand, doesn't do that. It just kind of keeps it keeps being fun if you keep getting it. I want to thank you and the friends who responded directly to me for my request from my friends in Vancouver yesterday. Thank you very much. Thank you, Elvin, for asking us, friend. You are so, so welcome. I hope your friends are doing better. Have you heard any news from them? Dune is probably one of the best sci-fi novels of all time, and the movie seems a banger too. I've heard so many people rave and rant about Dune, and every time I do, I have more resistance to reading it. Because it's like becoming a meme in my mind at this point. Like, people are just like, oh, Dune, yes, have you read Dune? Dude, Dune is the, that's the book. Chromogeometry is divine, in a sense. Chromogeometry. Oh, your name is Chromogeometry. Very much so. Yeah, I agree. You are divine. And no, I'm not referring to myself, but itself. Chromogeometry. You are divine as well, friend. I don't actually know what chromogeometry is, but it does sound pretty cool. Satisfaction is quadratically related to happiness. Yeah, maybe quadratically. Thank you. I tried to tell people, glad you overcame. I tried to tell people, don't even try it once. It's too good. I mean, like, that's literally why they say the same thing about meth. Because if cocaine gives you 300 units, meth gives you 1,500 units. And it's, yeah, again, the disparity is so large that you never really, recover properly from that. Of course. Of course. I'm finishing Mr. Octopus painting today. That's what I'll be up to. Sounds amazing. Do send us a photo. I'm sure you will, but I'm looking forward. I'm just excited. I've done it a few times, but it's been years since I've had no intentions of doing it again. I had my fun, was lucky it never became more than that, and don't want to tempt fate, very much so. I'm also happy that you had that experience with it, because it doesn't have to be addictive. You know, it can be something that you can have an experience with, and you can leave it at that. But if it becomes, something habitual, if you're into the nightlife, for example, and then when you're in the nightlife scene, this is just something that comes along with it. You do it repetitively, you get into a cycle of doing it. That's how you develop a problem. You are stronger than me, it seems. Addiction is rampant among my family. It took a while to realize. I'm happy that you did, Nate. And the fact that you know that as well gives you already an edge. That's, I think, what's most important. I'm not stronger than you, my friend. You are wired differently. But that says nothing about your character or strength. Addiction is a very real thing, very much so. Interestingly enough, I also don't have a problem with addiction. At least not in my opinion. Like all of the things that I've chosen to partake in, I've also chosen to not partake in for extended periods of time. Like I started smoking weed when I was, when I was 18. Then I smoked up until the age of 20, basically like 2 months before I turned 21. I moved to China, didn't smoke weed, and I smoked daily, from like the age of 18 to the age of 20. So a lot of weed was smoked. Quit cold turkey, went to China, and then when I came back, I started smoking again. Psychedelics, like the last time I've taken mushrooms was 15th of May, when my grandpa passed away. On the day my grandpa passed away, I was mid-trip when my dad told me, and I was like, whoa. And I told myself as well, and I told them, that I think this is the best possible state of mind I could have asked to be in to receive news like that. Because I've never experienced death before, actually. None of my family members have passed in that way. Yeah, I mean, something is only as addictive as you feel a need to do it, right? My brother, he doesn't drive all day, and now is the time. Like he's just gonna be loud for a bit now again, but then it should be gone. I'm not strong for it. One, I don't know. For me, it's different. The mentality related to drugs is I can't get addicted, and so far I have stayed true to that belief. I have the same mentality. Like I feel, if anything, it's just this tool, literally just a tool, and how you use that tool is completely subject to you. Like I know for a fact that you would have a lot more success in using the tools, that is, artistic supplies, to create something that is beautiful, where I wouldn't be able to do the same thing. In the same way, different people can use different tools in different ways, and you can teach yourself how to use tools as well, instead of thinking of it as a necessary part of your expression. Addiction is real, doesn't affect everyone the same or at all. Yeah, very true. I've tried many flavors beyond psychedelics and have had no issues. I'm so happy to hear that, Candace. I mean, like as you said as well, it's a mentality that you've taken on for yourself. Like it's something that you go in with that intention. When people have such a sheer fear or almost an acceptance of their addictive personalities or natures, and I'm not, calling out anyone, where they're like, oh yeah, I'm super addicted to things all of the time, and then they get the opportunity to try, for instance, some sort of psychoactive and also addictive substance, then they're basically setting themselves up to get addicted because they've already almost agreed to being an addicted person. Like it again, you become the stories you tell yourself. You were fortunate, my brain immediately thinks, I need a lot more of this. So that's interesting, actually, Nate. Like that you're saying that. Like one of the most intense experiences I've had was a 550 mic lion experience, if you will, LSD experience. And I didn't think I want to, I need a lot more of this because it was extremely intense. But I did think I need to do this more regularly. And I thought that 3 years ago now. No, no. 2 years and 2 years and like 7 months. 2 years and 8 months. Basically 3 years ago. I've not done it again. And I was like, yeah, yeah. I was also concerned in that moment. I was thinking to myself, like, I was thinking I need to do this more regularly, like very high dose psychedelic experiences, and I've never done it again. So it's weird, right? Like it was almost anti-addictive in that way. Even though I had that feeling in the experience that it would be something that I would want to experience more frequently, I've not had the urge to again. I know I will at some point again, but I've not had, this calling or this need to. Comes to these things. To me, as a belief system, if you believe that it will be true, yep. This is just a personal belief core. It's a personal belief for me as well, Candace. I'm happy that you're saying that. I have that as well, Candace. And you're lucky like me. And I'm so thankful for that. Not everyone is as lucky though. Very true. Hey, it's Kate Harrington. Thank you. I've not had that one before. I'd rather be called Kate Harrington than Kit Harrington. I can be the female version of Kit Harrington, yes. His new one, yeah, I agree, Edmund. My husband and I have gone on a binge for a week on one flavor, and was like, okay, this is getting boring, and stopped with no issue. I'm happy to hear that, Candace, because it is going to be boring, because it becomes one-dimensional. That's the thing as well. The thing that inspires me about psychedelics and the sheer difference of experience that they bring is that it's a difference of experience. If that becomes the new normal, if that becomes the experience, then sobriety is going to be the novelty that you look for again. Like, that's why, again, I don't believe in becoming addicted in something, because this experience of life, and I'm saying this is from smoking a joint, but I don't always smoke a joint. This experience of life is something that's beautiful, as it is. We have these sort of things to enhance the experience, not for them to become the experience. I agree, they should subsidize the fix. Rudo, as a belief, dude. As a belief, please. But to be fair, all of us profited from it. It facilitated almost all business growth. Yeah, that's true. But that's the thing I'm saying as well. Like, it did facilitate all of this business growth, but for that reason, these extremely high grossing businesses that have made their money from this suffering are the ones that are supposed to subsidize the repair of the suffering, or prevent at least the suffering. Addiction is not a conscious choice. It comes from your traumas within. Healing those traumas is the conscious choice. Like, I'm like feeling very much into what I'm saying as well, Nate, and I feel that some of the things I'm saying could maybe offend or be insensitive, and that's not the thing I'm trying to do at all. You're very right, because I believe in having experienced trauma, you basically use things to make that trauma a little bit less present and less in your face, be it through whatever substances you choose to use. Most people use alcohol. And then because of this like behavioral patternal use, they basically form an addictive personality and trying to escape their trauma, when the addiction personality in itself wasn't there ever before the trauma influenced them in that way. So I agree completely with you, Nate. I'm so happy that you've been able to pass that as well. Very well said, man. I can understand the point of view, Jumper, very much so. Among us is divine, given to us by the gods themselves. Very much so. Perfectly put as well. Thank you for joining us, Paul. 50 dopamine, please. Can I have 50 dopamine, please, brain? Does it work that way? Maybe a little bit. Here you go, Toasty. Pogo special on dopamine. Here is 100! Oh, goodness. Get double that you tried for in the side of serotonin, please. I'll have what he's having. 182. There was a super interesting Gabor Mate lecture about just this. Right on point. Very much on point. Thank you for sharing that with us as well, Nate. Man, if I said anything insensitive or unwise, please do excuse me as well, friend. Dealing dopamine, dope. Very much so. Hey Gob, thank you for joining us. Looks like a good time to join. We're getting dopamine and serotonin shots. So yeah, I can actually give you dopamine. What would be the most neutral compliment that you can give? I really like the way you human. Yeah. You do it pretty humanly. Did that give you a little bit of dopamine? Maybe so. Maybe like 2 dopamine. I'll have you top shelf dopamine, please, good sir. Okay, guys, time to go. Have to catch a bus tomorrow on time. Can't promise. But the lectures, though. But bus is necessary. I've been enjoying the reading time on the bus way too much. I'm happy that you get time to do that at least, Vincent. I hope you continue enjoying it. Thank you for joining us, friend. Today I am Lol Gov. Here's so for you to just Yater sprinkling dopamine on everyone that asks. Have a good time, everyone. Have a good time, Vincent. Alrighty, I gotta go. Love you, Candace. Thank you for joining us. Throw dopamine at Gov. Man. Here comes the Oprah moment. Dopamine. You get dopamine and you get dopamine. You get dopamine. Everybody's getting dopamine. I'll look into that. I'm always hungry for knowledge on the topic. Yeah, I mean, the more we learn, right? The more we learn, Nate. Like, we're literally infinitely expanding outwards into this universe, be it in here or as we get fatter and fatter, or as we die and eventually our molecular mass becomes evenly distributed onto our planet, over the eons, and then our planet becoming evenly distributed over the universe within the inevitable heat death of the universe, basically causing you to be very thinly spread right across infinity. I'm sorry, that's too much. I know. Lerps you Candace. We do lerps you Candace. Thank you for joining us. Hey Fave, do talk to us, friend. How about the topic of sugar being more addictive than cocaine? Sorry, this is a loaded topic, but can't let it go. But can't let it go if it's a trigger. No, Yater. I actually genuinely like that topic because it is something that is very triggering to people, especially to people that have had, experiences with cocaine. Like, they'll kind of be like, how dare you say something like cocaine is less addictive than sugar? But if you ask those people if they still consume sugar, 99.99% of them is going to say yes. And even if they don't consume sugar, they're still going to consume some sort of carbohydrate that gets turned into glucose in your body. Cutting sugar out completely is arguably one of the most difficult things you can do. It is extremely difficult. I wonder if Melt ever gets sick of speaking. Gob. So, yes and no. Because it is a no when it comes to in this space, but it's a yes in totality. Like, I do spend extended periods of time not speaking, because I know that there is going to be a space in speaking. So I have to balance it out. Interestingly enough, it's like 18 hours of silence to maybe like 6, no, actually probably like 20 hours of silence, 4 hours of speaking. Maybe that would be the ratio. It's so overlooked, very much so. Very much so. And you're saying the same thing, actually, so I'm gonna believe you even more, Nate. Sugar is something that infuriated me so much. I don't like very sweet things, and there is so much sugar in everything for no reason at all. Well, there is actually a pretty good reason for it, Edmund. When oil and fats basically got demonized back in 19, enter correct values here, they started to replace, the flavor that the fats would bring in your food with sugars, and it has become the norm, unfortunately. You want to give me ball? You want to give me the ball? You have to actually give it to me if you want me to throw it. You want to see her do a mini parkour? Oh no, she's gonna come. She bamboozled all of us. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me, you monster, you. Give it to me. Give it to me. Ah. Oh. She's probably gonna jump over the same place, so I'm gonna preemptively move this way. Yes! Yes! You got to see the parkour. Give it to me. He sounds like the thoughts in my head. I just don't like vocalizing as much. Kind of a quiet gover. Dude, me too. I spend most of my time being quiet. Like, this is definitely something I come and do intentionally. I'm happy to be able to do it though as well. Like, you friends have been an absolute pleasure to talk to every single time. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sugar isn't everything. I feel like sugar is a tool to cast a wide net to consumers, very much so. Because everybody likes sugar. Everybody's brain has the built-in, mechanics that says sugar, Sugar is everything. It's hard to avoid it's harder to avoid it than to consume it. Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. Oh, sugar booger. I avoid sugar. I think it's good for you as well to avoid it. Like she's just a very demon. She's an actual demon. I'm gonna kill you. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Tickle, 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 tickle. It's a chicken. It's just a chicken. People are so obsessed with sugar and sweet shit. Now, I'll argue sugar has worse side effects than some drugs, dude. So, man, like, I didn't want to go into saying this, but because I feel it feels kind of conspiracy theory-ish, But you can argue that the reason, like the American triangle is structured as it is, and why sugar is as prevalent as it is because it works hand in hand with the medical industry. You have people consume a lot of sugar, they get sick, so it's first and foremost, sugar is addictive. So you sell a product that makes money constantly, and then this product also happens to be very detrimental to the health of the consumer, which means you create an industry at which you charge them to heal them from these damages they've done to themselves, especially our hearts. And cardiac related deaths is the #1 leading cause of death in America. And you can literally just see it go up as sugar consumption goes up over the years as well. Hey, gloomy sunshine. We've been talking about so many spicy things today, my friend. How have you been? People, oh yeah, very much so. I agree completely, Edmund. Like, I would rather eat no, I'm not gonna go into saying something like that. I was gonna say I would rather eat a bag full of mushrooms than a bag full of sugar. But I was like, oh, I think both are gonna kind of treat me harshly. I feel the same about caffeine, though. Caffeine is the most widely consumed drug in the world. 90% of the population consumes caffeine. That's a big number. And it's very much a drug. It's like 100% a drug. Most people in the world, at least the people in like cities where they don't have access to fresh produce, get most of their antioxidants from their coffees and teas. That is scary. Same. The 90s, early 2000s seemed to be a pretty nutritionally wrecked time. Yes, dude, Mountain Dew and Doritos is what I think of the 90s/early 2000s. And I didn't even live during that time. It's just all the memes, man. What's your brother driving? Sounds fun. It's a WR250R, I think. It's like a Yamaha scrambler bike. It is fun. But there is, so many X hours of fun having time during the day, at which I do not worry too much about audio quality. I'm chill. Sorry to hear about your grandpa melt. Do you think that shaped your relationship with death? Receiving the news in an altered state of mind, easier to accept? I mean, you can go and watch what I went through, Christy. It was, I was very much still in the throes of the experience, and I definitely felt into that experience as genuinely as I could. So, not necessarily easier to accept, but my acceptance was more genuine, if you will, I think, if anything. And it also helped me process a lot of things that I was feeling that was foreign to me. And yeah, I do think it helped. I wouldn't recommend it though, because I don't think it would be the same for everyone. I've always had a good relationship with death because, before I became, if you will, in the way that I am now, or I've accepted the understanding I've accepted now, I think is a better way to say it. I've attempted to take my own life. And coming from that place, I kind of completely had to overcome the fear of death to the point where accepting that or trying to accept it for myself. So now, not wanting to die anymore, I also have retained the fearlessness of it. Like I kind of am in complete acceptance of it to the point where I think my eventual death isn't going to be something that is necessarily negative as a personal experience. It might be negative to the people that will lose me, but I don't think dying in itself should be seen as, something that's bad. It's a part of life. Literally the full stop to it almost, but not as well. Maybe a full stop to this egoic life. I think sugar is so negatively effective because it's so subtle and consistent. Yep, yep, yep. And the craziest part about sugar is the fact that we only taste like 10% of the amount we eat of it. Go and look this up for yourself as well. When you're drinking like a soda or like eating something very sugary, only like 10% at most of the sugar is actually coming into contact with your tongue. The rest is on top of it, just getting swallowed. That's hectic. That is the real bad thing about sugar. Not so much that it has high calories or that it tastes good and that it like tricks your brain into eating more of it, but the fact that you're eating 90% which could have just been air, literally. You could replace those pockets of sugar with air and just have that air press the layer of sugar against your tongue, and you would have the exact same taste experience that you would have eating air with 10% sugar as you would have eating something that is 100% sugar. You know what I'm trying to say. That is the real problem. Serious question. Have you ever thought you were on the autism spectrum in some way? Because of your sensory overload tendencies, especially with sound, I've often wondered if I was on cause of my OCD. Man, toasty. Oh, dude. Oh no. Oh no. I have thought that for so long, interestingly enough. And I've never actually wanted to mention or admit that. Because like, interestingly enough, where it really came to the forefront of my mind was in watching The Good Doctor, dude. Like, just to you friends who've seen it, it's basically, or to you friends who haven't seen, I should say rather, it's basically about this autistic doctor that works as a surgeon. And while I was watching that, I was seeing so many tendencies and like correlations, and it especially got me to this point where I questioned, am I in some way on the autism spectrum as well? Damn it. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I really don't know, but maybe. You know why I actually really think more maybe than less maybe? Is the fact that I actually do sometimes have a hard time reading certain social cues. I've taught myself a lot, and I've read so much to be social in the way that I am right now. that I feel it's more learned behavior than it is natural behavior in some ways. Like it isn't something that came too naturally to me because most of my childhood, while I was learning this information, if you will, was spent in complete isolation away from others because of some of the sensory overload as well, because I couldn't really deal with as much as was being thrown at me. Man, Toasty, dude, you're like scooping so deep into my psyche. Oh, yo. I don't like. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, Toasty, dude. I think about that multiple times a day. Oh goodness. Um, Maybe like if you friends have noticed things like that as well, maybe that would explain it. Toasty, my cousin is very high functioning autistic, 11-year-old, and I think we have a lot more in common than I want to admit. It's kind of surreal, right, Christy? Women in a Van. Thank you for the tree hug, my friend. To you friends who don't know, Women in a Van is an artistic friend. She also streams here on our pan. Thank you for joining us. Sugar was a focus for me when I studied nutrition. It is in everything, and even if you try, it's very difficult to stay within the guidelines of the recommended dietary intake. I think the recommended dietary intake is like 25 grams of sugar a day. No, 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 no. 60 grams of sugar a day, max. Is it? I think it maybe it's 25 actually. Damn it. Can't remember exactly how many ever sugar spoons there is in a single can of soda. That's your daily intake. So if you drink a single can of soda, you have already reached your sugar intake limit for the day, technically. That is the crazy part as well. Very much so. There are so many different names to hide under as well. That is the most deceiving part about it, is because people would make this intention to cut out sugar, and then they will have it hidden under, dextrose or fructose or dehydrated cane juice, stuff like that, where people, if they're scanning, they can't necessarily see just sugar, and then they eat it in anyway, getting the same sugars, not knowing. It is, yeah. Again, the conspiracy theorist freaking cap is coming on. Take it off and put it down. That's why the nutrition label have the added sugar section. It was meant to stop manufacturers from hiding it. I'm happy to hear that actually. In the States, that's what there. No offense taken from anyone's thoughts or beliefs. I appreciate perspective. Thank you so much, Nate, for being so understanding, my friend. Oh, we have Mammy. Mammy, thank you for joining us. How are you doing, my friend? Dopamine giveaway. Crystal love. Sprinkling for you some as well. Thank you for joining us, my friend. It's all about the emojis today. Yeah, artificial sweetener is worse than sugar. Yeah, it's like nuking your microbiome. Damn it. Because I wonder, like, I've been wondering about this actually, Lumi Sunshine, and this is literally my shotgun theory. Is the reason that it nukes your microbiome because you have in your microbiome these enzymes that are prone to processing sugars, and then by eating these artificial flavorants, these microbiome uh, organisms are basically preparing themselves to process sugar, and then they don't receive any sugar, basically eviscerating themselves in that way. Like that's at least my logic as to why I would do that. How's your wee break going? I'm good. What? Wee break going. I'm doing well about abstaining, except on Thursdays. My friends and I play music together, and many blunts and joints are involved. Dude, like if you're taking a week at a time off already, that's a lot, dude. Enjoy your blunts and joints with your friends. It's not something that you're ever going to regret. Like, damn it, I wish I smoked less blunts and joints while me and my friends hanged out together. No, enjoy life while you have it, my friend, while you get to spend time with them. I love you all so very much. My spirit flies high when I see you guys in the chat box and I hear Mel's voice. And you melt our hearts as well, Mammy. Thank you so much for being here with us. You're always a blessing. I more meant no real culinary reason, like things that are sweet. Oh yeah, have no reason to be sweet, dude. Like jerky, like people adding sugar to jerky, like that. For that, yeah, makes absolutely no sense. I agree completely, Edmund. You're right. Hmm. Or onion rings, for example. Yeah, it's absurd. Salty! How have you been, my friend? It's been a while. How have you been, dude? You're doing so well. I don't know. We're taking a break from the joints. It seems that way. I don't know either, actually. Give me onion rings with sweet batter and you will piss me off, guaranteed. I've never had sweet, like in South Africa, we don't lean that heavily into the sugar. Sweet battered onion rings. I think you will have me pretty offended as well, actually, friend. I think my dad is back. Yeah, I was hoping y'all would be here, and here we are, Katie. Thank you for joining us. How have you been, friend? It's been a while. What, like 2, 3 days? Or fruit, even. I know people that won't eat fruit without coating it in straight sugar, as if the fruit isn't sweet enough already. Whoa, Edmund. I hope you know these people as people you know, and not people. I'm joking. I mean, you can love them just as much. But like, oh goodness, I cannot even imagine adding sugar to any fruit. Yep, I can say that with confidence. Not a single fruit I would want to add sugar to. Like, my favorite part about eating a fruit is the fact that it feels so fresh and natural, right? Like you're eating this gift of nature. And then you're like, yup, need some crystals. Need some sugar crystals. No, hell no. I can't imagine myself ever doing that. We were hoping you would join us, Katie. There we go. That's beautiful. Mel, never gonna finish the chat. We've doomed him. Freaking challenge me. I'll keep going, Bob. You know me. I have a confession to make. I was lurking in one of your streams not long ago. I hope you're well. There we go. That's beautiful. Like, I believe even if you're lurking and you're listening and you're sharing that experience, there is still energy being sent, between you two. There doesn't have to be a communication. Quitting sugar is an ongoing battle in my life. Having trouble getting my A1C down. I don't know what an A1C exactly is, actually, Angela. Is that like a blood sugar level or something? Far behind. It was my man's always, Katie. How do you know me, dude? Like, no, I think maybe like only 2 or 3 streams this year, I was like caught up all the way. Add sugar to milk. Oh goodness. People add sugar to milk? I'm so offended. I would never do that. I actually do that sometimes, Yater. An occasion, like once a month sort of thing. I'll also add like a spoon of coffee though. Like it'll be like a really milky, sugary coffee. But yeah, definitely not as a daily thing. Mammy, that is okay. You should have said something. You should have said something. I mean, like energy was still sent and something was said now. And now we get to have this experience. So if she did say something, this experience would not be in the way that it is. There is no isn't. Makes me sick to my rum tummers. And with sugar is crazy addictive drug. Very much so. Man, I have the title in my head already. I know it was lurking mood, but next time I'll say hi. Good. Be so much better than talking to pervs. I tried streaming yesterday and everyone was really low energy and rude. I'm so sorry to hear that, Katie. You don't deserve that, my friend. You were strong enough to weather it, though. It just made me feel more pissed off than before. So you were pissed off going into the stream. Should I draw conclusions just out of thin air? No, I won't. I think you can do the same. It happens. It does. I'm sorry about it, Katie. Fortunately, this space is very lacking of low energy vibes. Like I just feel someone would feel too out of place. Like I've been thinking about this a lot. Just how you can technically and very genuinely get into these weird confrontations and find yourself trying to contain that weird confrontation, right? And a person can kind of go. We have a word in Afrikaans that is gaan te kere, and it basically means like losing your shit. That's like the direct translation of it. It's a little bit more PC, like you can say it in front of kids if you will, but that's what it means essentially. And if you can, in that space where that other person is losing their shit, if you will, and however way they lose it, be it in a negative comment way or be it in an actual, physical throwing stuff around way, if you can be calm and loving and understanding and compassionate regardless of that, you're going to create such a sheer difference in perspective that that person will feel ridiculous in trying to do the thing that it is they're doing that is not in alignment with the energy you're displaying, the energy you're trying to bring. And it's crazy just how powerful that as an effect can be on other people. And I can see it here as well. Like it's very difficult for people to either be negative or stay negative. And that it astounds me. But it also makes perfect sense. Because what do we believe? Love is real. I said, what do we believe? Love is real. Definitely God. I'm much more concerned with my sugar intake than any other substance I consume. And it's good to be so as well, Edmund. I'm happy you're taking that into consideration. Tag any one of us next time, Katie. Please do. Just like maybe copy a bunch of our names and be like, oh, you freaking troll, low energy vibe people, I'm gonna summon the horde of lovers on you. And we just like walk in, swinging, being like, hey, love you, pss, 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 love you too, pss, pss, love you as well. Just love everyone, and then they have to leave. I mean, they wouldn't be able to stick around unless they switch to loving as well, because that's the only way. We will come follow the love and light. Thank you so much, Shader. This is the way. I'm thinking of rolling up on Sunday. I'll try to abstain from at least one thing at any point in time. I'm excited to have the first puff again. Maybe give up dumb phone games after that because I've been playing Slither.io too much. It is a fun game though. It is a fun game. I mean, as you say, you're abstaining from one thing at a time. I think you're going to be very much rewarded by having your first puff again after abstaining from that for a while. And I think the same would be true for the Slither.io as well. Or it could be the opposite, that you could lose interest and maybe gain some time. Either way. Was Aunt Bia here earlier? Not just yet. Unless I missed her, I would say no, mammy. No, not just yet. That worm game is so addictive. Mammy, yes, you know. You hear, friend. Day 239 of what? Day 239 of showing up and being here in this space, my friend. Every single day, I show up with the intention that love is true. And every single day, love is true. And so, thank you for joining us on day 239. Montana brought G.D. Cyril in 1985, the chem company that owned the patent for aspartame. Donald Rumsfeld then made it his mission to have the ban overturned because he wanted them monies. Alright, Gloomy Sunshine. Like, thank you for giving me all of that information as well. Like, I don't know how much of it I'm going to retain, but I do appreciate it in this moment. Summoning Aunt B. If she's going to be here. If she's already here, love to you, my friend. It's probably busy, but I'll tag her anyway. Thank you, mammy. You don't have to do that. Joe Bod had a dumb phone gaming habit. Nice. Too, I laugh because I can relate. Like, the only phone game that I was ever addicted to was Clash of Clans in grade 9 and 10. Right? Yeah. Grade 9 and 10, I used to play a lot of Clash of Clans. I got up to like Town Hall level 9? I think only level 9, and I had like those level 8 walls or something. And level 8 mortars. And I was like, yeah, this game is sick. I spent money on that game. Stupid ass. Never again. Yeah, like it was very fun because there was this element of like building, and then this element of working and attacking and gathering resources and then investing and then waiting and then spending time fighting and gathering resources. So I understand that it was a pretty good loop to get caught in, but I don't again. Thank you. Everyone is on the autism spectrum. I was thinking that while I was talking about that, but I didn't think that I could say something like that. Is that true? Is everyone maybe a little bit on the autism spectrum? Big up to you. That's why it's a spectrum. I mean, I wouldn't actually disagree with that then. I started trying to quit sugar at the beginning of the pandemic. How has it actually gone for you, friend? Like, you say it's been an ongoing battle. Do you feel, at least, over the time that you have been battling, you have reduced your sugar intake more? Let's say you've spent X amount of time battling sugar. Do you feel you have consumed less sugar in X time than you have consumed in your previous X time, right? Pre non-sugar or sugar battle, if you will. You know what I'm trying to say. Have you reduced your sugar intake totally from the previous way you were eating? If so, then you're already winning the battle, my friend. Just continue fighting. Get your hands out of your pelvis. Ain't nobody want to see that. Thank you, Rocky. You're very right, friend. I agree completely. It's really crappy Minesweeper game that I got zombie for. A crappy Minesweeper game. Man, I'm thinking about Plants vs. Zombies for some reason. Talking about, I mean, it's probably the zombie comment. Minesweeper. I don't think I don't think I've ever played a complete game of Minesweeper, once. Enjoy the dopamine and cortisol. Oh, my battery says 7%. I shall say goodbye now. Have a good weekend, everyone. Have a good weekend, mammy. Love you too. 60, bye, ma'am. Much love. I at least go rain once the puzzle games. I mean, one of the puzzle games that I really got into also during high school was this game where you would flick these little wood blocks and you would have to try and get one of the wood blocks out of the box by switching them around. And that was very satisfying to me. Like, I've played, I think, somewhere in the thousand of those puzzles. Because it was relatively straightforward. Get this block outside and you had to move all of the rest. And it got, progressively more and more complicated. And we would kind of do it together in class as well. Like, someone would be peeking over your shoulder and be saying, like, maybe try this or try that. And Dove, agree with you about the spectrum. Yeah, I was like actually curious. Like, I was thinking of saying it, and then I felt you can't really say some shit like that because that would be you saying that everyone possibly has the potential of questioning these things inside of themselves because they might be. And I was like, you're throwing a little bit of a broad net, but thank you for actually enlightening me to that. 36 grams for males, 24 grams for females. Yep. So for females, a single, about 39 grams in a can of soda. Yep. So one can of soda and you're way over your daily limit for sugar. That's wild. Hey, Ebony, thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing? Zebra cakes. Y'all Americans even have a zebra cake addiction? What? Zebra cake? I don't even know what zebra cake is. I'm guessing some sort of dark layered cake, cream layer, dark, that's the most zebra-ish cake I can think about. According to the American Heart Association, look at you, Yater. You know your stuff. Yeah, I guess soda already puts you over. That's ridiculous. I try to stay informed, Gloomy. This is the way. It's the oatmeal creme pies for me, Gob. Young Gabi could out. Whoa. Young Gabi could out away a whole box of zebra cakes. Put away, I guess. A whole box of zebra cakes. Man. When I was working out a lot and taking like once a month cheat days, I would like eat a box of cereal, 2 packs of like, those packages of cookies, like be it Oreos or Jolly Jammers or Zoo Biscuits or something like that. I would eat 3 packets of chips, and I would usually buy myself ice cream as well. And then chocolate milk. and then maybe just chocolate bars as well. And I would like scarf it down in a single day, and I would feel so bad the next day. I would literally feel like I'm dying. I'd be like, why do I ever eat sugar? And then it's easy again to not eat sugar for the next month, and then all of these cravings come up, and then I like destroy myself again. And I'm like, never again. It did work though. Thinking about the stuff we used to eat so freely as a kid, like damn, my microbiome has PTSD. Man, like the times in my life where like noodles was the only thing that I could afford, just for like months at a time eating noodles, like my poor microbiome just getting like as long as you can stay under the recommended dietary intake, you're good. 100% stay away from artificial sweeteners. Thank you for informing us as well, Gloomy Sunshine. Turns out there's 100 grams of sugar in the 2 pack. Oh goodness, that's a lot of sugar. I've never heard of adding just sugar to milk, but I do like chocolate milk sometimes. So that's just, chocolate flavoring, sugar, and milk, technically. I love you all, and we love you, Infamous One. Thank you for being here. Not very often, though. Edmund, Infamous, love you, my friend. There we go. So much love being shared. Toast me, my friends. My wedding will take place next March. Cheers to you, awesome builder. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day, you know, going on forward. And I hope you have an amazing next March, few months, not being married. And then I hope you have an amazing day getting married. And then I hope you have an amazing life being married, friend. Thank you so much for letting us know. Cheers. Congratulations. So much love being shared. The ego can survive around consciousness. There's a lot of consciousness in these streams. That is actually very true. And it's a very good point, actually, Yader. Thank you for sharing it as well. It's been a work in progress, but I wore her down. Good for you, friend. I'm sure it's going to be blessed. Hey, what's up, Brew? I'm doing well, Snoo. How about you? I've seen you all switch a person from trolling to loving. Happened yesterday. Yeah, it did, Christy. It did, actually. I told my mom about this. So surprised I was about it. Like, I told her I actually managed to have someone agree after disagreeing at first. Like, the dude, what was his name? Afraid something? Yeah, afraid something. Like, came to the point where it was like, yep, you're right about, not bringing any value other than criticizing, and that is not something that is beneficial. I was like, wow, yeah, exactly. Only love here. That is the way, friend. And thank you for being here with us, Awesome Builder, again. Funny, because if we are conscious and unconscious people come around, we have a good chance of awakening them, as the ego will not thrive and let them awaken. Yep, the ego, like, that's the thing as well. The small egoic understanding of the self almost wants to survive, and its means of survival is convincing you that you need it to survive. That's literally why ego death or ego disillusion can be something that is so traumatic to people, because it becomes what they think of as themselves when it never is. It never, ever, ever was. Came to the stream. Did she? Heather? I don't think so. Not just yet. Oh, you're inviting. That's what's happening. Your lighter case is amazing. Thank you, friend. And just for you, I'll use it, Snoo. I'm really not doing this intentionally, but it's really flowing that way. Hello, my friend. Hey, Annie. How have you been, friend? It's been a while. It's nice to have you here again. Same, that puzzle game is so addictive. It really is. It's simple and yet complex enough to be fun. I've always felt the same about the spectrum, and I see it everywhere in me and other people. I think my family is less on that spectrum, if you will, than I am then. We talking sugar? We have been. We've been talking psychedelics and sugar. I personally prefer those Sudoku puzzles. I did a bunch of those as well, but Sudoku, like I'm not too fond of numbers actually. You know, other than it being synchronous, it is a little bit cold, if you will. Pretty sure I'm on the spectrum. I don't know if I care to get diagnosed. It don't matter. Must have been a vaccine I got as a kid. Yup, that's exactly what it was, Toasty. It must have been those vaccines, dude. I'm one of those factory made sweets. You must be delicious, friend. Thank you for joining us, Super. You think so, Toasty? Like a baby toe in the spectrum, you know. No idea how I used to do it and how my body still works. I mean, fortunately it does, dude. Like, it shows to me just again the adaptability that is this machine that we get to occupy as well. As long as we take good care of it, at some point it is going to reward us for that. That's the most fascinating part of it. Like, you can literally, as a 70-year-old, start to exercise, start to eat healthy, and you will have a shift in your mental, personal, spiritual, everything health. And it's mind baffling that we as human beings are capable of so much regeneration if we actually have that mindset. That's the name. Thank you, Edmund. Take care of yourself, Gloomy. Goodbye, Gloomy. Thank you for being here with us, friend. You were so appreciated. Afraid Verity is here. No, I don't think so. Is he just yet? Maybe not yet. I haven't seen them today, Toasty, but I hope to see them again. Me too, actually. So, how do we feel about Sugar Cube LSD? Like, technically, Sugar Cube LSD is just like a little drop of liquid on sugar. So, I would, omit the sugar cube in favor of the actual drop. That's where I stand on it, and I feel that is a very comic place to leave this stream off on. Friends, thank you. Namaste. I recognize the divinity within you, and I appreciate you sharing the space with me today. It's been very blessed. I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow.